They're all gone?
All gone.
Well, we should have bought some more. You were just there.
I know. I didn't realize I was that close to empty.
Yeah, I can't believe you're wearing your tennis shoes right there. Yeah.
Supposed to.
Harold's getting down and getting dirty.
Maybe. You son of a bitch. Yes.
Dirty, dirty, dirty.
Trying to see the angle. Make sure I got a good up and down angle on that rod. I didn't think about it. I should have bought new fittings, air fittings, and a new linkage rod. This last time when I did that one, I remember I had to go all the way back down there and get that linkage rod, that little one right there.
Yeah.
Because it broke, the one from the original.
Yeah.
It broke it. This one luckily did not. Probably it kept protected because whatever they painted this body or this chassis with when they redid or got it ready for me to buy, it's pretty thick stuff. It's not your normal chassis stuff.
Dirty. Our car is prettier than the truck is.
Well, the car's been sitting here in the driveway. Truck's been out working. Truck's probably thinking, that goddamn car ain't got no job. It's bullshit.
Yeah, really.
And I didn't buy ratchet wrenches a long time ago. And every time I've ever needed ratchet wrenches, I always say the same thing. Should have bought ratchet wrenches. I don't know why I don't have them. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't get it. What did I do with my channel locks?
Probably stuck on a part.
No.
Under a tire.
I put them away because, you know, when you're in the middle of a project, the best place for your tools is put in a box. You know, God forbid they get dirty.
Yeah.
Why is this off? Somebody make me understand. Why do people take shit loose and then not put it back? Come on, people. Is that the way you treat your own property? You just do half of it? Because if you do, that's bullshit. What's going on, people? I thought I'd do a quick video, or I'm going to show you bits and pieces of what I'm doing here. We're going to get the AC operating on the APU. I'll show you what I bought, what I got, and what I got to do. I'm not going to make it a full-fledged repair video, but if you got any questions, let me know. This is the old school way of doing it. Before they put all the restrictions on releasing Freon. This is pretty much how it got done. No matter if it was your house, your vehicle, APU, AC systems, it's all the same thing. But I'll show you what we got. And again, I'm gonna let you know out front, if your system is sealed and it has Freon in it, do not, by any shape, means, or form, dump that crap into the atmosphere. It is a very expensive fine. Not that you could necessarily get caught doing it, but you never know. And if they catch you, is it worth it? No. I would say, luckily, it's not really luckily, when this AC compressor failed, the Freon went with it, and there's nothing you can do about that. That's not a premeditated release of Freon, which is finable. It was accidental, and you know, what are you gonna do? Catch it in your hand? But anyway, let me flip you around and I'll show you what I got. All right, real quick. This is the old compressor. And as you can see, that's all grease and gunk, where it leaked and failed. Yeah. I replaced this piece, and that was not, it was the bearing in the compressor that eventually failed, and that's where all the AC went, or the Freon. All right, so here's a vacuum pump I bought. Get them relatively cheap at Harbor Freight. There's the gauge set, which again, this is part of the process, doing it the old way. This is the, for the top of the Freon cans, that's what you need to recharge the system. I'll show you that once I get it. These are O-rings. You want refrigerant O-rings when you're doing hoses or anything in the system. That's shrink tube, because I do have to reconnect the wire going to the new compressor that's already on there. And then I bought 2 belts because I wasn't sure which one I needed. So I bought one of each, because I was out on the road and I didn't have the opportunity to measure. And this is the new filter dryer that goes right there. So let me get the covers off of this and some of the zip ties cut off of it, and then we'll be back. All right, people. Yeah, I know, wearing a hat, coat. Yesterday it was freaking warm and humid, and today it's chilly and sprinkly. Had some storms rolled through last night. It was pretty interesting. Probably gonna have to build some pontoons, put them on the house. Real quick. All right, let's see. So I got the bottom cover off, which is bolt goes there, one goes right there, and then you want to loosen these because it kind of slips up underneath this cover. Of course, you got the bolt for the exhaust, and you got one on the other side in the back, and then that cover comes off, and this is the one that goes on the bottom, which is right there, and then that's obviously the top piece. But here's that's the new compressor. I didn't even wire it in. I left the caps on the back to keep it protected, and then I zip tied the hoses out of the way. Let them gotta clean them up, put the new O-rings on, and I'll show you. I think I left it in the house. I bought a little jar of PAG refrigerant oil. That's gonna be so I can get a little lubrication on the O-rings when I put it together, just to keep from damaging the O-ring if I can. That's the wire, power wire to it. So I'm gonna get all this hooked back up and then get that replaced, and we'll be back in a second. All right, we'll show you a quick snippet of where we're at. So swing you around and check her out. All right, that's the filter dryer. As you can see, there's the little green O-rings that stayed in there when I pulled the hoses off. And then this doomahickey here is a pressure switch. It's got to transfer over to the other one. Obviously there's where it was, so let's get her on there. Just in case you don't, there is a directional on this. It does have to point a certain way, and that'll face the cab. Not every system is going to be set up the same because everybody installs differently, but that's the way this one's going to have to go. So we'll be back in a second. All right, real quick. Yeah, I changed hat. This is not an advertisement for anyone, but it was free. And it's warmer than the other one I had on because it's actually gotten cooler. Ran into a snafu, and I'm going to show you what the issue became. This is the old filter dryer. It has this nipple on it, a little Schrader valve in there, that the pressure switch goes to. This is the new one. No nipple. Has this little fitting in there to keep it. And I couldn't find a new one of the nipple Schrader valve things to go in this old one, or this new one. Yeah, you can buy a new switch that screws right in there, but it's $147, and the switch I have is working, so I'm not spending the money for nothing. So what I've done is I bought this. Now this has what I need, and these are both the same. The only difference is the length, right? Compatible with everything. So lengthwise, I mean, it's a little difference there. But where it goes, and I'll bring it around and show you. Let me bring it around and show you where it sits. Is right there. So I got plenty of room to put the longer one in there, and the only other difference is I will have to use a little more refrigerant to fill the system. So I just thought I would. A receiver dryer is a receiver dryer. As long as the fittings work and it's compatible with the refrigerant that you're using, you're good to go. Because this one is the same manufacturer as the original. Let me switch around, I'll show you. That's an MEI, compatible with R12, R22, and 134A. That's an MEI, same exact receiver dryer. Only difference is, again, is size. So, yeah, I can live with that. So, just thought I'd show you in case you run into something similar ever. Buying the exact same part is always not a bad thing, but sometimes you can make do with what you can get a hold of. I was able to buy this receiver dryer replacement tall boy at my local Napa. So yeah, there we are. Be back in a little bit. All right, real quick, let me flip you around again. I bought this, which is refrigerant oil. My AC compressor already had oil when I bought it. It came like that, pre-filled, but I did buy this, $9 at AutoZone, and put the new O-rings on. When you buy these green AC O-rings, there's multiple sizes if you buy the multi-pack. Now the one I took off, if you compare it to the ones I put on there, the one I took off looks bigger, but you have to realize it's been on there a while, so it's stretched a little bit. Keep that in mind. You don't want to go with the next bigger O-ring, because chances are it's just going to be too big. Now the reason I bought this is for lubrication, and you want to use stuff that is specifically AC, because if you swell them O-rings, it could cause you issues. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit, I mean a little bit, not a lot. We're just going to lubricate these O-rings a little bit. And since it is refrigerant oil, it's not going to hurt if you get it in the tube, because there's already oil in the system. Oops, that wasn't good. But I mean, I spent $9 for this, just for this, just to lubricate seals. They don't sell a bottle any smaller that I can find. All right, so let me get this part back together, and then we'll be back in just a second. All right, people, this is fun. Flip around and show you where we're at. We'll stop, and then we'll come back check in again. So, yeah. All right, so that's all hooked up. Everything's zip tied back up. We got the new belt on, all nice and snug. Got it wired. Listen, people, a little solder over shoot right there. Solder and shrink tube. Solder and shrink tube your wiring. Yeah, it's just that little extra. Just zipping wire together and throwing tape on it. It's gonna come back and bite you sooner or later. You might as well do it right once. Just like connectors. Like a lot of people just put the wire in, crimp it, throw some tape around it or something, and call it a day. Use solder. Just save yourself the headache later on down the road, and throw some solder at it. Just saying. So let me get the gauges and the vacuum pump hooked up, and we'll be back. All right, so we are all hooked up, ready to vacuum this thing down. It does two purposes, in case nobody's ever thought about it or just don't know. The point of a vacuum pump is to evacuate the system, but it also reduces atmospheric pressure, and that allows moisture and excess refrigerant, anything that's in the system, to turn to a vapor and be drawn out and purged. It's a cool little experiment if you've ever not done it or done it. If you can take a jar, put a Schrader valve in the top, hook your vacuum pump to it, and vacuum it down, water will boil at room temperature. I don't know if you've ever seen that experiment done, but I did back when I was a kid, when school was actually, they did stuff like that. Because, now we're afraid of science. But yeah, this is what we got. Let me turn you around. All right, so that's manifold gauge set. Everything's open right now. I just opened all the valves connected to the vacuum pump. So I'm going to start this up, and I'm going to let it run about 10 minutes. And then I'm going to shut it off, and I'm going to let it sit for about 20-30 minutes to see if the gauges come up. Because right now, I ran it for just a second, and it immediately went to 30, which is HG, which is what you'd consider vacuum. So yeah, let's fire her up, and then I'll be back. All right, so vacuum the system down for about 15 minutes. So the gauge, that's where she's sitting right now. So she's in vacuum, and we will let it sit for about 20-30 minutes, see where that's sitting in that time, and hopefully it doesn't move, because that tells me the system's sealed. Hang on. All right, people, it's been about 35 minutes. I got in here reading my new OIDA magazine. It just came. So we'll show you the gauge after 35 minutes. I think we're good to go. All right, there we go. Yep, still right at 30, right where we need her to be. This means she's not drawing any air anywhere, so all our connections must be good to go. So let's get her hooked up to charge and we'll be back. All right, as you can see, I got the Freon can hooked up, going to the yellow. You're not supposed to release Freon, but when you hook this can up, there's going to be air in this line from disconnecting it from your vacuum pump. So before you open any valves, just loosen your connection right here, or you can even take this little cap off and there's a Schrader valve in there, and just do a psst, just to get Freon in the line and get the air out. But I have, the red and blue valve are both open down here. Blue valve is the only thing open on the manifold. You don't want to open the red. You don't ever want to charge on the high side of the system. Right now I got the bunk heater on because it's so chilly out here. I can't get the AC to kick on for the compressor to run to help pull this Freon into the system. As you can see by the gauge, it's already pulled some in, but until I can get that compressor to kick on, it's just not gonna enough. So I've turned the bunk heater on. I'm gonna get it nice and hot in there, and then once I get it nice and hot in the cab, I'll switch over to AC. Thermostat will think it's hot outside and kick on my AC. So stay tuned. All right, this is gonna be the end of the video. Let me swing you around. So yeah, I'm buttoning it back up. With the bigger receiver dryer, it took altogether I put 3 pounds in this. That receiver dryer was pretty big unit, but I charged using the gauges, not based off of the recommended amount, because obviously I've changed the component. So those numbers go out the window. So if you're going to charge by the gauges, you go by the ambient temperature for the high side, which right now it's about 50 degrees. So 100 to 150 psi at that temp is good. On the low side, it's dipping down below 20, but again, it's not the warmest. The fact that I'm even able to get the AC to run and keep the APU running long enough to charge it has been a feat unto its own. These APUs, they ain't like a car where you can just start it and it's going to run till you shut it off. This thing, as soon as it senses a low pressure, it shuts right down. So I was able to get enough charge into it just by hooking the can up and just letting it sit and draw it in to get it to where I could get it to run, so I could charge the system. So just some quick information. There's charts online if you're looking for pressure charts. That's readily available. Charging an AC system with gauges, it's all pretty standard. They all pretty much, they all work the same. So the process is pretty close. But again, I'm gonna put it on here one more time. Do not ever crack a system that's got Freon in it and let it go into the air. For one, it's just environmentally irresponsible, and for two, it could cost you some money. But yeah, that's where we're at. As always, I appreciate you guys taking time. Be safe. We'll talk to you.